The last train home. The last train departed the station at midnight, a rusty relic of a bygone era. It was the only service that ran through the small, desolate town of Eldridge. Few chose to ride it, but for Jacob, it was a necessity. He had been visiting his ailing grandmother and was desperate to return home before the storm rolled in. As he boarded, he noticed the train was nearly empty. The flickering lights cast eerie shadows in the cramped compartments, and the air felt heavy, thick with an unshakable tension. He settled into a seat by the window, the worn upholstery crackling beneath him. The train lurched forward, and he watched the darkened landscape whiz past. The rain began to fall, pattering against the windows, creating a rhythm that was both soothing and unnerving. Jacob's eyelids grew heavy, and he felt himself slipping into a light sleep. He was jolted awake by a loud bang, a sudden violent shudder that ran through the train. Looking around, Jacob saw that he was now the only passenger in the carriage. The emptiness was suffocating, the kind of silence that made his skin crawl. He leaned closer to the window, trying to peer into the rain-soaked darkness. In the distance he thought he saw a figure standing by the tracks, drenched but unmoving. A chill crept up his spine as he blinked, and the figure vanished. Jacob shook his head, trying to dispel the unsettling feeling gnawing at him. The train continued to rumble along, and as the minutes passed, the atmosphere shifted. The lights flickered more violently now, and the train felt as if it were slowing down. He checked his watch. It was still only a few minutes past midnight. Suddenly, a whispering sound filled the air, a soft, eerie chant that seemed to echo from the walls of the train. Jacob's heart raced as he strained to listen. The voices were indistinct but filled with a sorrowful longing, as if they were reaching out to him. "Get off," one voice hissed, chilling him to the bone. "Turn back," another echoed. "Leave now," a third whispered, almost pleading. Panic surged through Jacob. He jumped to his feet, eyes wide, scanning the empty carriage for any sign of movement. He bolted toward the door at the end of the compartment, but it wouldn't budge. The train had slowed to a crawl now, the whispers growing louder, more insistent. "Get off! Leave!" With a surge of adrenaline, Jacob slammed against the door, but it remained shut tight. Just then, the lights flickered one last time and then went out completely. The train was plunged into darkness, the only sound being the relentless pounding of rain against the metal. Heart-pounding, Jacob felt around for his phone, desperately trying to illuminate his surroundings. The soft glow revealed nothing but the darkened seats. The whispering had stopped, replaced by an oppressive silence that seemed to pulse in the air. "Help me!" A voice broke through the stillness, close and haunting. Jacob's blood ran cold as he turned, but no one was there. The air felt thick with despair, as if the very train itself was alive with anguish. He finally managed to pry open the emergency exit, but before he could leap out, he heard a faint laughter behind him, cold and malevolent. He hesitated, fear holding him in place as he glanced back. In the dim glow of his phone, he saw them. Shadows formed into shapes, figures with hollow eyes and twisted smiles, standing at the other end of the carriage, reaching out toward him with skeletal hands. "Stay with us," they whispered in unison, their voices echoing like a funeral dirge. With a surge of terror, Jacob forced himself to leap from the train and landed on the wet ground, rolling to absorb the impact. He looked up just in time to see the train vanish into the darkness, swallowed by the rain and the night. Breathless, he stumbled away from the tracks, his heart racing, eyes darting around for any sign of life. As he ran, he glanced back at the now empty tracks, the air heavy with silence. The last train had left him behind, and he knew he would never forget the whispers of the dead that haunted it. As dawn broke, illuminating the abandoned station, he collapsed against the wall, trembling. He had escaped, but the memory of that night would never fade, the night he almost boarded the train to nowhere, the night he heard the last echoes of its lost souls.